What is going on, Cyberfam? As you know, this channel is all about me doing my own due diligence for my own investment and conviction, and I'm just trying to share my research as best as I can. Okay, now the more I start researching and the more I'm just looking at stuff about Palantir, the more things I start to build and the conviction that I look at and all this other stuff happens. I'm starting to realize something here. Okay, I kind of knew this from like a little bit in the beginning. I had a feeling, but I don't know. This is where my mind is at right now. I think I was a little wrong about Palantir in this one way. In my most successful video, which is like the why I'm a Palantir investor video, I'll leave a card here that you can click. For that video, I did mention that these guys have no competitors, right? Now, the reality of the case is it's kind of true. They do actually have no competitors, but it's true because of a certain thing that they do. While I believe that Palantir, Foundry, and Gotham and all these things are basically a product in their own class, that's what I mean. They don't have any competition. The product itself, those three platforms are basically so robust that they can stand on its own, and it's very hard to compete against that one thing. But in that same light, the more you look at it and the more you analyze it and the more features you start to see from these platforms, I'm starting to realize that they actually are competing with everybody. Yeah. So, and I had a feeling of this before when I took a look at the Gotham demo, like it was one of the first videos I did. And I was like, man, like once they go through these integrations and all this other stuff, they can really put a product out there that's quite sticky and fights for market share with a lot of existing players. So I'm coming to this realization now that it's actually much bigger potentially than I think it is. Now, there's a few problems here. And of course, guys, like I try to give it to you both ways, right? I'm not just going to like blow up over one thing or another. I want to make sure that I can see both sides of this because, again, we are all in this together. We want to make sure that our money is sitting in the right place. The thing is, the problem with this, the fact that they are competing with everybody, in my opinion, is a very good thing because a lot of companies try to do this and they kind of suck at it. But Palantir, the tech and the type of engineering that they're trying to do and the quality of work that they're putting out is really on a class of its own. So they have the balls to compete in this kind of like environment with the rest of the big boys. So if they are competing with everyone, they can hold their own. Now, that being said, it really depends on how they go about it. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Like the main thing I'm looking for here is a sales ramp and marketing and all this other stuff, right? And the main reason I'm looking for just that part, by the way, is only because their product maturity is really, really high. A lot of companies will barely have a complete product and they'll still go and pitch and do sales and marketing, right? And then they'll lose clients. But Palantir's product maturity is very high. It's a full-fledged platform already. So that's why I'm looking for those things, just so you guys are aware. So let me give you an example. SAP, right? SAP, Salesforce, ServiceNow, right? These kind of guys. They came into the market with a niche, right? They came into the market with a niche product that some enterprises needed. Most didn't, but some enterprises needed. They competed on price. And then now that they're big established players and they're kind of ubiquitous, now they're working on other stuff like SAP Cloud, Salesforce Cloud, blah, 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 all this other stuff, right? That's one side. The other side are companies like Microsoft, companies like Oracle. These guys have had so much runway for so long that they basically worked on like things that we didn't even think of from way back then. And they didn't even think about way back then. Small skunkworks projects or internal projects that didn't really turn into big players in the industry, but somehow are relevant today. So in a few of the videos where I was looking at Foundry and all these other things, right? I did describe that Microsoft did have some of these things already sort of in play from a while ago, right? So the ETL process, some of the ERP stuff, they had things of that similar nature from a long time ago. I'm talking 90s. Microsoft and Oracle were very well aware of these kind of problems in the enterprise. On top of that, Microsoft is like the king of enterprise. They're killing it in the enterprise game, man. Like their name carries serious weight when it comes to any contracts or anything that you sign. They give you crazy credits. Like if you talk to Microsoft reps and they're like, you know what, no problem. You want $200,000 to go and try out something in our platform? Feel free, go ahead. Yeah, no problem. $200,000 credit, here you go. Right? Like they just basically throw money at you as long as you are able to use their product. That's all they care about. They have very good sales. And on top of that, coming to the technical staff, man, like Microsoft and Oracle are like kind of like a tiered system. Okay. You get general engineers who are pretty much as good as anybody. Some of them are of course better than the rest because they work for high-tech companies. But then you have your select few engineers that work at some of these places. And Microsoft and Oracle are not stupid. They know how much they need these guys. These guys will lead entire departments and entire development teams, and they basically just go to war, man. Like look what happened to Slack, right? If you guys don't know, Slack was like, when it came out to the scene, I had a buddy actually worked at Slack in 2016, and it was crazy. Like they were like, kind of in a space of their own, and all this stuff was happening. And if you don't know, they innovated in a way, actually. Like they took something that was super boring like chat, they really made that completely integrated into the development sort of pipeline and lifecycle, which is really cool at the time. I still remember this, but Microsoft sent an email saying, oh, we're going to compete with Slack and you guys did something cool, but like we're coming after you, right? And Slack sent like a confirmation saying, oh yeah, thanks Microsoft for like thinking of us. And it was very kind of playful, right? But listen, I know a lot of you guys are Tesla investors, so you're coming from that angle, but let me tell you something. Big tech is not like big auto, okay? Like big and legacy tech is not legacy auto. These guys can hit. Like if Microsoft decides to turn the afterburners on and they have their eyes set on your product, you better be ready for war. Like these guys will come at you and they will bludgeon you with their like endless supply of A-grade engineers. Microsoft and Oracle specifically are like sleeping giants here that Palantir is competing with. SAP is there, but I think, to be honest with you, Palantir tech is much, much stronger than SAP tech right now. And I think it's actually way stronger than even Microsoft and Oracle tech. I think it's stronger than all of them combined. But the problem is, and here's the big picture of what I'm trying to tell you guys, okay? The current enterprise and the current way the IT enterprise works is very antiquated. Now, there are modern efficiencies and things like that that are in place, and some companies are doing it better than others, okay? But the reality is, it's actually quite like a Russian nesting doll of like different departments within each company, okay? Sometimes what happens is you, at a top org level, you buy software and it trickles down into other departments and other teams. But the problem is, the people that are at the top, at the org level, at the top level that give it down, the VPs and the senior managers, and honestly, you guys might be them. So, I don't know, if you get offended by this, my bad, but I'm just telling you how it is, man. These guys, they don't see the future, okay? They're just trying to keep the status quo or just a little bit better, like marginally better. And the reason for this is because everything in these big organizations is big. So like even a menial difference is going to make a massive difference for them. Really good people at this level are very hard to come by, like very hard to come by. They would have to work through the ranks for decades to get there, kind of thing. I mean, I aspire to be one of these people, but at the end of the day, guys, these people will go with what works and what has worked for them in the past, which is buying existing enterprise software. At the most they'll innovate is going to SAP or something. Palantir, the way they're catering their software, the way they're doing all of this stuff that they're doing, is a fully integrated massive platform. And this is actually the method that they're using is actually kind of old school. I'm 100% sure that everything is microservice oriented. So like, even if the platform is big, the actual functioning units, each functioning unit is most likely a microservice. So it's going to be quite fast. Now, it's not like Microsoft Oracle are not doing this, but the structure that Palantir is using, from what I can tell, is much more responsive. So the problem is, how Palantir is addressing this is they're addressing this for the future, right? They're going after the future companies, the future tech, and the startups and mid-sized companies and that kind of stuff, right? It can be dicey. I think this is where it is, right? I'm not on the fence. I'm on the side of Palantir, so I'm not saying like, oh no, I'm so scared, right? But the thing is, I didn't realize how much they were competing with Microsoft and Oracle, specifically those two. I don't care much about SAP. To be honest, if you put SAP and Palantir in a room, Palantir would eat SAP for breakfast. When it comes to the other two, they'll win as well. But the guys that Microsoft and Oracle spent to, these guys, you guys don't understand, they have tentacles that reach in deep within the enterprise infrastructure and enterprises all around the world, right? Like these guys have it's called professional services. Like these guys have relationships that last decades. I'll give you a perfect example. One of my bosses, we actually tried to onboard this new software, right? And one of my bosses actually had a very good relationship with one of the sales reps. Call it what it is, it's bad business practice, but there's a few times this relationship took more of a precedence in what software was picked. Okay, I'll just leave it there. All I'll say is, like, it's not always the tech side of it that matters. Like, there are other softwares that we had and that we had curated that said, you know what, this is going to be better for us. We can automate better with this. Now, all of them are actually a good fit for our business case. It's not like there was like some nefarious stuff there other than the stuff I was talking about. All of them are great fits. But from a technology perspective, from a tech and coding perspective, right? A few of them offered way better APIs that we can integrate with, right? But there was that relationship, right? So the guy who had to make the decision was the one who had the relationship. So it was almost a no-brainer. And on top of that, this was probably one of the most expensive out of the ones that we picked. I think Palantir is out for a fight, guys. I think these guys are going to have to fight, and it's going to be a pretty bloody battle. But to be honest, I think Palantir is going to be one of those top companies up there. It's going to be competing with the Microsoft healthily. It's going to be competing with Oracle healthily. It's going to be competing with SAP way more. This is what I think is going to happen. I think what's going to happen is Palantir is going to sneak by. Like, all these guys they're aware of Palantir. They probably know what they're doing, right? But these guys are big players. They're big fish. It takes some time for them to realize and actually compete, especially Microsoft. I think what's going to happen is Palantir is going to get some good contracts. They're going to start growing like crazy. And it's going to come a time where Microsoft especially might take an approach that's like, you know what? We'll let Palantir slide, because if you always notice, guys, Microsoft always like second to everything, but they do a very good job at being second. Like Microsoft Azure was terrible when AWS was like in its prime and coming out, but now it's fantastic. It's a fantastic product, right? And they're fine with where they are. But the thing is, they'll probably let Palantir go, and then they'll turn their targets onto SAP, or they'll turn their targets onto like some other company. Oracle might do the same thing, just because it's easier to learn from a new company than completely get like destroyed by everybody else. Microsoft D365, Dynamics, and like Oracle NetSuite and stuff. These are all like fantastic ERP products that are quite large and quite expensive. And like, they're established players, right? So this isn't like, they're not like new to the space. They've been here and they've seen it. Yeah, I mean, time will tell, but honestly, guys, at the end of the day, I'm super bullish on Palantir. They're competing with like literally everybody. This is going to be a battle. Like, owning the stock is going to be one of the most exciting things for me, from a tech perspective. So should be a fun one. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. This is just my realization. I could be wrong, but right now, this is what's on my mind. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Feel free to give me a like and subscribe if you like. And that's it for me. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.